The rock curse gets water. The West Park Garden Temple in Hong Kong originally had no water source, which had been troubling for many years and could not be solved. In 1951, when the master built this temple, he found a rock seam and recited the Great Compassion Mantra, and the rock seam quickly produced water, forming a pool, which solved the water source problem and caused a sensation in the local area. Heretics take refuge. After the death of Sam, the founder of the American religious organization California Dreamers, he had 3 dreams in which he asked the members to take refuge in Buddhism according to the master, and they did so. The Holy City Water Source. In 1974, the government of California built a 488-acre hospital in a small town near San Francisco, but it had to be sold because of a lack of water, and it was sold very cheaply. Master Xuanhua bought it, walked around the canyon, and then sent people to the location he indicated to drill a well, and indeed, the clear and spiritual spring gushed out. Later, the 10,000 Buddhist city established here had a reliable water source. The master later said that they didn't know that this place was the intersection of 2 underground rivers. Resurrection from the brink of death. In 1979, the city of 10,000 Buddhas had been transformed from its initial desolation to a fresh new look, and officially held an opening ceremony attended by about 3,000 believers from home and abroad. Among them was a Singaporean journalist, Xiao Guozhao, who came specially to cover the event, writing numerous news articles. While wandering around the city of 10,000 Buddhas, he happily picked a large bag of mushrooms that had sprouted on the grass and sent them to the kitchen for everyone. However, the female Dharma Master in charge of the kitchen recognized them as poisonous mushrooms and refused to accept them. An American lay follower of the city, Craig Kesson, who had studied botany, sternly warned that they were lethal. Undeterred, Xiao Guozhao returned to his room and cooked and ate them by himself, consuming about 10 mushrooms. Unfortunately, shortly after eating them, he turned pale. Happening to look for him for another matter, Dharma Master Hangzuo immediately rushed him to the hospital for emergency treatment. The doctor, after examining the remaining poisonous mushrooms, instructed Hangzuo to prepare for Xiao Guozhao's last rites. As the mushrooms were known as death cap mushrooms, extremely toxic, and typically causing respiratory arrest within 3 to 4 hours after consumption, with no chance of recovery. Master Xuanhua asked everyone to recite the Shurangama Mantra for Xiao Guozhao. After a while, the master smiled at Dharma Master Hangshai and said, "Now the poison has entered my body." Hangshai noticed that the master's complexion had darkened and his voice had become weaker. But in the hospital, Xiao Guozhao, whose heartbeat had already stopped, miraculously came back to life, astonishing the doctor, who had never seen such a thing before. Xiao Guozhao later returned to Singapore safely and never again dared to eat unfamiliar mushrooms indiscriminately. The tree god listens to the Dharma. When Master Xuanhua preaches, the entire space and the Dharma realm can hear it. In October 1994, Master Xuanhua's disciples, Gokeng and Golan, 2 laypersons, paid homage to Buddha at Mount Puchuo. In the Puji temple on Mount Puchuo, a 1,000-year-old camphor tree god appeared and said that after listening to Master Xuanhua's teachings, he did not understand the meaning of some verses in the Heart Sutra and asked the 2 disciples of the master for explanations. The laypersons curiously asked him, "Master Xuanhua is preaching in the United States, how can you hear it?" According to the camphor tree god, Master Xuanhua's preaching can be heard throughout the entire space and the Dharma realm. Only people who are burdened by wealth, sex, fame, and profit are deaf and blind and do not hear or see, while all other sentient beings are quietly cultivating and developing the seeds of Bodhi in the sound of Master Xuanhua's teachings. Therefore, he has been listening to Master Xuanhua's teachings for a long time. At that time, the 2 laypersons explained the parts of the Heart Sutra that the tree god was confused about, and after returning, they reported this to Master Xuanhua through an overseas call. On October 23rd, Master Xuanhua conducted a formal conversion ceremony for this tree god at the Long Beach Saint Temple in Los Angeles. When the 5th patriarch of Zen, Master Hongren, passed the Dharma to the 6th patriarch, Master Huaneng, he said, "Do not speak hastily. The rise of the Buddha's teachings is difficult. This means, do not be eager to spread the Buddha's teachings, as they arise from difficulties." More than 1,000 years later, in Chongqing County, Jilin Province, Northeast China, the well-known Bai Shaozi at the time, Master Xuanhua, also known as Master Nci, with the courtesy name Dulun, left home at the age of 19. After his mother's death, he built a small frame thatched hut next to her grave to shield himself from the fierce northern wind and heavy snow, worshipped the Avatamsaka Sutra daily, practiced repentance, cultivated meditation, studied teachings, and observed a single meal a day. He was resolute and encouraged himself to work hard on the path. One day while meditating, an inconceivable realm appeared. Master Huaneng came to Baizhao Zizai, Master Xuanhua's thatched hut, entering like an ordinary person. Master Huaneng said to Baizhao Zi, "In the future, you will go to the United States, where you will encounter innumerable people, and the number of sentient beings you teach will be as countless as the sands of the Ganges River, which is a sign of the rise of the orthodox Dharma in the West." After the conversation, Master Huaneng wanted to leave, and Baizhao Zi stood up to see him off. After walking a few steps together, Master Huaneng suddenly disappeared. After decades of hardships, in 1949, the master went from the Northeast to Hong Kong and lived in seclusion for more than a decade. Later, in 1962, he went to the United States alone to spread the mind-to-mind transmission of the Buddha's teachings, working silently, cultivating successors, and nurturing talents, with outstanding disciples emerging one after another. His disciples admired the master's noble character and were all influenced by his virtue, thus generating the Bodhi mind. Even the difficult to tame sentient beings from the 3 mountains and 5 ridges, such as the Hua Qinggang and the Zufang Gang in San Francisco's Chinatown, also converted and reformed. Here is a brief account of the Hua Qinggang's conversion to the 3 jewels and their aspiration for goodness. In 1978, on the birthday of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the 19th day of the 6th lunar month, the city of 10,000 Buddhas held a Dharma assembly, and 8 young people came to take refuge on the same day. At that time, others were not clear about their backgrounds. During the conversion, the master said to these young people, "Those who take refuge in me must not kill or set fire, steal or rob, or tell lies. You should know that if you kill someone's father, others will also kill his father. If you kill someone's brother, others will also kill his brother." The law of cause and effect is clear and not the slightest bit off. The 8 people were scared out of their wits when they heard this, sweating profusely. It turned out that several of them were carrying guns with them. Then the master asked, "Who among you is the leader? Raise your hand quickly." The leader quickly raised his hand to admit it. After this direct admonition, these young people were truly moved and returned to San Francisco determined to turn over a new leaf. Before they came to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, they were actively purchasing a large number of firearms, such as machine guns and bullets, preparing for a deadly showdown with their rivals. They had contacted several dealers but had not yet found the ideal price. After taking refuge in the 3 jewels, the next day a dealer came with the weapons they needed, and the price was also ideal. However, everyone decided to give up after discussing it. Originally, in San Francisco, ever since the Hua Qinggang and the Zufang Gang fought for territory and caused the Golden Dragon blood case, Chinatown had once fallen into a dead town, with residents and businesses living in fear all day. But ever since these young people took refuge in the 3 jewels, suddenly, the peace and prosperity of San Francisco's Chinatown returned as before. In September of the same year, when the Dharma Realm University's visiting group was in Malaysia, the 8 brothers of the gang had a clear dream on the same night, seeing the master come to bless them with his touch. In Buddhism, touching the top of the head is an expression of compassion and can eliminate karmic obstacles. Since then, a group of more than a dozen brothers have all reformed. This sudden change has invisibly saved the lives of many residents and resolved the security issues in Chinatown. Once gangsters, they are now well-behaved Buddhists. How incredible the power of the Buddha's teachings is. The master often instructed the 4 assemblies, saying, "Cultivating the path should not be afraid of suffering. Only by bringing out sincerity and strength can we spread the Buddha's teachings in the West." Although it is as difficult as planting a lotus in fire, the Buddha's teachings rise from suffering. The more difficult, the better.